What is up, everybody? We are back with another reaction video, and this one in particular was sent to me by a dear friend, and they said that this video just straight up moved them, and no one has reacted to it yet on YouTube. It's pronounced dead for 20 minutes. What he saw and how it will change his life forever. I don't really know what to expect. I imagine it's kind of like religion oriented, because like you die for 20 minutes. Are you seeing the afterlife? Are you seeing heaven? Are you seeing hell? Like, what are you seeing? This is the question that everyone wants to know in life. So why don't we just jump into this, see what it's all about. All right, let's do it.
Story alone to why we're here today could be an interesting thing enough to talk about. How we ended up here, even that has affected me. But what we're going to actually talk about, I think, has the potential to really help a lot of people. And I'm so honored that you've agreed to be here today. There's moments in some people's lives where they have these big resets. Their priorities shift or something big happens and it just changes everything. And it seems like you've maybe had more than one of those moments in your life. And I've been honored enough to hear a little tiny bit of some of those, but it sounds like most people haven't heard some of these stories. So the one question I wanted to ask you is, why now? Why did you feel like this was a good time to share some of these really kind of personal moments for you?
Well, the thing that kind of brought to mind was what's happening right now with the COVID-19. There's so many people out there that are afraid of what might happen to them. And for me, it's not a fear for me because of what I've gone through before with, well, passing away for about 20 minutes and seeing things that most people don't get to see. But what I started thinking about after talking to you on the trail that day was how people shouldn't be fearful of death. What it did for me when I was 28 years old was to kind of wake me up and find out where my values are and where I'm sitting with my family and where I am placed with my Father in heaven. You know, at the time I was working for the government, I was working out of town and
Hold on, let me just pause real
didn't
quick.
spend a lot.
It said when he was 28 years old, and it's clear he's probably like in his 60s or 70s right now. No, this had a hugely profound impact on him. He seems emotional even speaking about it to this day, 50, 60 years later, and it just goes to show whatever is about to happen is deep and powerful. And I like what he said also about how, like, don't live in fear. How many people, like, were scared to leave their house during COVID? Like, I even myself, the first few months, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm scared, I don't want to leave. We can't live in fear because just think about all the bad things that might happen to you. You're just gonna live a miserable experience. You could do your best, like, sure, you could be prepared against stuff, wear masks, do whatever you want. Don't live in the shadows. You just got to go out there and experience life.
Time at home. And what it did for me was it brought me closer to my family. Here I am, almost 67 years old, and I've talked very little about this because it's meant a lot to me, and it's, other than telling maybe a couple of family members and of course my wife, no one knows about what happened. In my mind, it is very vivid every day. I was up on the ski slopes in Park City and having a great time. We were skiing all day and I was in the lift line, and all of a sudden a lady came down and she had her poles going every which way and ran into us in the ski line. And, well, needless to say, I skied the rest of the day. When we got through, I took my glove off, and down at the car, my thumb was hanging straight down.
Oh.
And it knocked my thumb completely out of the socket.
What?
And I knew I had to have something done. It started to hurt once I got into that warm vehicle.
You skied the whole day with your thumb hanging around?
Yes.
The adrenaline just keeps you going.
I knew I had to get something done. So we scheduled surgery and got prepped. And what I remember most vividly was sitting in the operating room, and the doctor put a sheet between me and my right hand, and my right thumb was tore down, and there was a nurse in there, and the nurse in there Made mention to the doctor that she'd never done a tourniquet before and didn't know quite how to change the valves, and the doctor said that he'd talk her through it.
I'm confused how he dies by a thing with the thumb. I thought like a brain injury, maybe.
Well, in the situation that you put a tourniquet on right here, and you have two valves. One is to tighten it up, one's to loosen the pressure. And what happened was both of them were tightened to begin with, and the nurse undid the one valve, and the pressure started coming back on again, and she opened the second valve and forgot to close the first valve. And all of a sudden I had the sensation of something going up my arm. It crossed into my heart, and next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation. What was unique about it was I wasn't by myself. I had someone right beside me watching. And I don't know if this is normal or not, but I watched every stitch that was put into my thumb. I watched the nurse go running out of the room saying that I killed him, and which was, I'm sure, put a lot of fear in her mind that what she did didn't work.
That just goes to show.
But I sat.
This guy just seems so freaking emotional, and he actually seems like a good, humble human being, which is making me want to believe him more. His sincerity shines freaking through. Like, I'm listening to this guy, I'm like, he sounds like he's just telling the truth. He sounds like he's not making this up. Like, this seems truthful. And the fact that he was so concerned about the nurse who apparently killed him also just reinforces the fact that he's a good dude. But I'm kind of curious, like, in this situation where it was just a simple thumb surgery and he dies, say he never came back to life, would that nurse be liable in like court? I don't really know the law about that stuff.
And even though I never did see the person next to me, I sat right next to him as if I knew that person. And everything was done through the mind. There was no talking. I could hear what the doctor was doing, but I could never hear mouth to mouth what was being said with the person that was next to me. And we sat there and watched the operation. And I can't tell you how long, because there was no clock on the wall, or I didn't have a watch on. We watched how serious the doctor was about finishing his surgery on my thumb. And I watched him cut me here and here and tear a tendon out. I saw him wrap it around my thumb, and I started watching him put me back together. Something that was supposed to be a very simple operation ended up being not so good in the end.
No such thing as a simple operation, I guess.
We sat there for a little while, and I can remember I was sitting above. I was laying down, and how you lay out with your arm like this, with the sheet right here. And I was sitting right up here above watching the surgery. And then in my mind, I was told, okay, it's time to go. And I remember so vividly, I could never look back. I was instructed never to look back again. And the next thing I knew, and it was like a twinkle of an eye, I was standing in a field where the person that was with me was right next to me, but I couldn't see him. And I looked over to the left, and there was some great big tall trees. And I remember they were the most unusual looking trees. It had a long trunk with the leaves up on top. and there were lots of them. And then to the right of that, which would be still to the left of me, was wildflowers, just beautiful wildflowers, and they were up about to my waist. And I just remember looking and seeing how beautiful the flowers are, because it's something that I really enjoy is yard work and gardening.
See, that brings to me a question. Like, say, I'm religious. I'm Catholic, so I believe in God and all that. I believe in heaven, hell, everything like that. I don't know if most of you guys do, but what do you think heaven is like? Is heaven my heaven, or is heaven your heaven, or is heaven just universal? Like, if I had the same experience, would I be viewing the same stuff? Like, would I be seeing the same roses and petunias and all that? Or would I be seeing something that, like, I personally love? I don't know. This stuff is so abstract. It's hard to even, like, process.
I just remember the vivid colors were just magnificent. And then in front of me, and then to the right, was tall grass that came up probably just about my waist high. And I was just standing there. And the next thing I knew, the person that had escorted me there was not there anymore, and I was by myself. So peaceful. Everything it was really, what I remember so vividly was I could see a long ways to my left. I could see a long ways to my right. I wasn't allowed to look back. But in front of me was at the time it seemed like a cloud. It was just a white cloud. And all of a sudden in my mind, I started watching a video of my life. And I saw it from the day that I was born until I was 28 years old. Everything that I'd done in my life, good, bad, it didn't matter, because what mattered was that's what I was being judged on, was what I had done.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. If I were to die, I would love to see a highlight of my life. The goods and the bads. You probably argue too, like, oh no, well, I only did that bad thing because of this, because of that, because of that. It's like, no, you did it. Like, there is no explaining it. It's clear as day. The proof is right there. You could try and weasel your way out of it. Just own up to every single thing that you have done. Everything you did in the past has brought you to who you are today.
And I remember some of it hurt, but some of it made me feel good. But it was what it was. I had no one there to argue with, no one to say, I didn't do that.
Exactly.
No, I did it. But there was a lot of things at that time in my life that I wasn't really as on track on my life as I should have been. It was, at that time in my life, I was working for the government, for the Postal Service at the time, and it was all about getting ahead, making enough money. And I was working, I remember at the time I was working in Jackpot, Nevada, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. And knowing that everything that I was doing was for myself and not for my family. And I think probably out of all of that I watched, it was, some was good, some was bad, but I knew that I had to do better with my life. I remember all of a sudden just being so peaceful. After it was all over, it was real. Nothing, there's no fake stuff. There was no, you didn't do this or I didn't do that. I did it. It was all about me. And what was so vivid was it was in my mind. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't negotiating. It was all in my mind that I was visualizing. And when I got through, I went, it's over, you know. I knew that I was dead, and I knew I was moving on.
And isn't the thing that's so reassuring too? Social media and Instagram, Facebook, all of this paint a picture of a fake life. Yet we can't do that for God. We can't pretend we are something we're not. Because He sees everything. He knows what's actually in our heart. We can say stuff all we want, but if we don't actually believe it and like think that honestly, if we're trying to like deceive Him, no, it's not gonna work.
I was instructed through my mind, and that person wasn't next to me, but in my mind, to get up and start working forward. And I walked up to this white cloud, and an arm came through, only about this much. And it just came through, and I'll never forget it. It was an arm that was strong. It was somebody that had worked either in the farming industry, where his arms were big and his hands, I remember, were strong. They were bigger than my hands. They were a lot more meaty. And he reached out like this, and I reached towards his hand, and he said, "It is not yet your time. You have more things yet to do." And he pulled his arm back through, and I didn't see it again because of the cloud that was in front of me. And at that time, I went back into my body. The doctor said that there was a war going on inside of my body. The war was that I did not want to come back because it was so peaceful. I remember him saying, "What was going on? Why was you all over the place on that table?" And I told him that I didn't want to come back. It was too beautiful where I'd been. And come to find out, I had a paper on my chest, and it had pronounced me dead for 20 minutes. And I'd been gone. But I was gone in the most peaceful place that I could have ever went. When they wheeled me out, Connie was out in the hallway. She had no idea that anything had ever happened to me. But for 3 days, I've never had so much peace in my life as it's unbelievable, the peace that I had for 3 days laying in that hospital bed. And the doctor, it's kind of funny, the doctor kept coming back in and checking on me to make sure I was okay, and was extremely nice to me. It was Dr. Scowes.
What happened after
Just so
the third
you're
day?
aware, too, Scott's wife, Connie, is sitting right off screen, so you don't think he's talking to himself.
Oh, no. This is my escort, my wife, Connie. Well, we've been married 45 years, and this is something that I have kept very private and sacred in my life because it meant so much to me. Well, it changed my life. It changed the way I think about things. It changes the way I think about my wife and what we are together, and that we are one instead of trying to be one-on-one. We're trying to be one. At least I am trying. I'm not perfect. I've got a lot to learn in life. My life has taken me in a whole different direction since I was 28 years old. It's kind of brought me closer to my Father in heaven. I know there's a God. I know without a shadow of a doubt. One thing that I can also say is I'm not afraid of dying, because I know how peaceful it's going to be. My thumb works today. very good. I call it my bionic thumb. But I love my family. I love my wife.
Whew. Thank you so much, Scott, for sharing. There's so many things to be taken from that. One alone, just that you have zero fear of dying in the world's current climate. That alone, if some people could latch onto that and just know, a lot of people have died in the past 2 months, knowing that this life isn't it, that there's more, and that it's the most peaceful you've ever felt. One thing I thought was particularly poignant as well, that idea of never looking back. That's something in our lives too. I think we hold a lot of baggage, and maybe we feel bad about things that we've done. I think that's a really interesting message that you had while you were there, that we can also take away, is that, like, you can always start again. Not everyone is going to have an experience like that, but you can take Scott's word for it on what it's like, and that this life isn't it, and that there are times where you just have to reprioritize, reset, and don't look back. Don't look back at what you've done, aside from using that as inspiration to change your life.
That's a good epitaph for life.
To do something better. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Wow. I mean, plain and simple, this is a question that has plagued mankind since its dawn. Since the first human being, everyone has always wondered, what happens when we're gone? What happens when all this is said and done? Why are we here? Why are we on this planet? And honestly, it just makes you think, this man actually did what he said he did. He saw these things. It just makes you think, like, maybe there is a God. Like, I'm Catholic. I am a practicing Catholic. I believe in Jesus. I believe in all of this. There's not a person on this planet. It doesn't matter if you're the Pope or you're a priest. No one can say with 100% conviction there is a God, 100%, no doubt about it. Everyone has doubts. That's just natural. That's a human being. We all have faults and sins, and we stray away from time to time. I'll tell you one thing, it's reassuring to hear this from this man, because this just confirms my beliefs. It just makes you think, like, all the stuff that we're stressing about really means nothing. The only reason that we are here, in my mind, is to just spread love and be good to one another. I don't think we are here to make the most money, to get the most girls. I don't think we're here for any of that. It's just to be a good human being. And if you can live life and be a net positive on the world, then I think that you succeeded in life. That is all that this is about. Now, I mess up all the freaking time. I am the biggest sinner. I do so many bad things. I'm just trying to get better. And I know talk is cheap, but I really want to be on a better path and just become a better human being each passing day. The key takeaway for me is that we just need to appreciate life while we're here. This man had a thumb injury and that he was nearly dead. Be that positive force. And honestly, I think I believe this man. He seemed like a genuine human being. What did he actually have to gain? Did he earn any money from this? No, probably not. Did he get fame? Probably, but I don't think he cares about that. I just think that he just wanted to be reassuring to other people. That's what I genuinely like about this dude. Do you guys believe him though? That's the question I'm actually curious about. I have a feeling most of you guys are gonna say no. Let me know in the comments, do you believe him? And if so, how are you gonna live your life differently after watching this video? Any of you guys ever experienced something similar to this? Because if you did, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about that. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what I should react to next. Take it easy, y'all. Till next time.